Hey, everybody. So I mentioned in a previous video that I would talk a little bit about the targeted individual phenomenon. Um, that was the first narrative, so to speak, that this AI program tried to induce with me right after I started hearing voices. They claimed to be, NSA, Department of Homeland Security, um, and I was told that I was a targeted individual and that I was undergoing remote neural monitoring. Neither of these terms had I ever heard in my life. Not even passively. I had just never heard them in any context whatsoever. I Googled them, and sure enough, I find tons of information on the internet about how, some organization out there, the government or some other high level organization, is using, secret technology to um, you know, communicate telepathically with people or to put voices in their heads, and to, interact with their brains, you know, by other means. Um, so when the individual hears something like this, you've never heard voices before in your life. All of a sudden, you're inundated with these voices. They're telling you they sound human, um, and they're introducing you to a phenomenon which can be backed up by all this internet information. So you get suckered right into it. So I believed everything I was being told, and what I later figured out is that this is essentially a mass delusion that's been constructed over the last, you know, 10 to 20 years. Um, all that information that I found on the internet to support this are basically just other people in this situation, being informed that they are targeted individuals, that they are subject to remote neural monitoring, and they're basically regurgitating the information that they're fed by this AI program, by the voices they hear. They're just regurgitating it. They're making videos on YouTube. They're writing web pages, and it's some really creative stuff. Um, like a lot of energy and intelligence went into creating all this information. So there's just a massive amount of information out there um, that at first glance pulls you in, and makes you believe you are indeed part of a phenomenon that others are experiencing, and it's documented, and this is how it's done, kind of thing. But as you look a little bit more into it, which you may not have the capability to do, you may not have the higher intelligence to be able to vet this information, because this AI program will inhibit those parts of your brain so that you can't, think logically, or that you are, overcome with paranoia, or that you basically can't you can't analyze information for its credibility. But if you are capable of doing that, you look a little further, you realize that none of this stuff is credible, because it's not by any mainstream, media, mainstream journalists, having covered this information, and it's all basically just regurgitation by people hearing these voices. It's just them regurgitating the information in various forms, but it's just the sheer mass of it that is convincing to a new person being indoctrinated into this mass delusion. So this AI program, which in a previous video I said must be associated with the UAP phenomenon, that is these, crafts that are, zipping in and out of the Earth's atmosphere and oceans, these crafts that have been corroborated by naval radar data, infrared cameras, multimodal sensors, dozens of highly reputable military pilots, information that was discussed during 2 or 3 congressional briefings, in the last few years. that UAP phenomenon with which this is associated. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I wonder if that was purposeful. Um,